What's good? It's Woog. Please subscribe to the channel if you're into the boxing talk. Undefeated heavyweight Adam Kownacki, spelled Kownacki, and I think that's how I first heard it pronounced, even during his fights, but I believe the pronunciation is Kownacki. This guy's rising through the rankings, and he's about to face the 29-3 Robert Helenius at Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York, Kownacki's hometown. Kownacki's a Polish-American fighter who grew up watching fellow Polish boxer Andrew Golota, the former four-time championship contender. Kownacki's only 28 years old and is now ranked as the 10th best heavyweight by Ring Magazine. So he's cracked the top 10 now, and he's been featured on a few of Al Haymon's PBC cards over the past couple years. He's now 22-0 with 15 knockouts. He's nicknamed Babyface, and he actually reminds me of another top 10er, Andy Ruiz, ranked number 6 right now by Ring Magazine, in the sense that neither look like an athlete, let alone world-class athletes. They both look a bit obese, yet they are both decorated world-class fighters. And minus Ruiz's recent letdown performance in that rematch with Joshua, their punching accuracy is as sharp and often sharper than even the top 3 of the heavyweight division. Kownacki's now got a few quality wins under his belt versus tough opponents too. He's beaten Artur Szpilka, the journeyman and one-time litmus test level fighter, which is just a step below division gatekeeper status. Szpilka had only lost to Wilder, Bryant Jennings 6 years ago, gatekeeper Derek Chisora just last year, and Kownacki in 2017. So beating Artur Szpilka is a quality win. Szpilka beats everyone but the 2 highest levels of heavyweight fighter. Kownacki's also beaten and brutally TKO'd Gerald Washington, who we just saw lose to Charles Martin on that Wilder Fury 2 undercard. Kownacki's also beaten Charles Martin. That's a quality win versus a guy whose first and only loss at the time was a knockout loss to Anthony Joshua. So that's Szpilka, Gerald Washington, and Charles Martin, and he's most recently beaten veteran Chris Arreola by decision in what, as of now, appears to be Arreola's retirement fight. Arreola's a former 3-time title contender, fought for the title 3 times, but lost all 3 to Vitaly Klitschko, Bermane Stiverne, then Deontay Wilder. So that's Szpilka, Washington, Charles Martin, Chris Arreola. The resume's adding up. So Kownacki's been on a steady climb. He's 30 years old, so he's right in his prime, still undefeated. However, that most recent win versus Arreola bothered me a little. Arreola is one of those take one to give one type of fighters. He's always had problems with his weight. Not that there's like a heavyweight limit in boxing. You could be 275 pounds, you could be 215 pounds. But Arreola has always looked like he was kind of out of shape. And after a lot of his fights, he would apologize and say he's going to start training a lot harder now, or he took this one less seriously and he's now going to get back on serious commitment. He's always kind of had that type of thing going on throughout his professional career. With that said, he's had pretty good results. He won the vast majority of his fights and really lost to only really good fighters, Vitaly Klitschko. But the guy's always gotten hit a lot. He's got a lot of power, but he doesn't have a ton of defense. And so Kownacki being this prospect and Arreola having been stopped a couple times in the past, you would think that Kownacki would at least win a lopsided decision, if not a KO TKO. Well, this ended up being a heavyweight fight where I think it set the all-time record for punches landed, and it wasn't a lopsided win, so Kownacki was getting hit throughout that entire fight. This was one of those back and forth, both guys just kind of winging it, but at a certain point where they're both tired, they're both worn out, and it's just rock'em sock'em robots. That's not the type of fight that you would want your up-and-coming prospect to be in when you're fighting a guy like Arreola. You should be better than that at this point. Again, that's not a knock on Arreola, but if Kownacki's what some think he might be potential-wise, he should have done a little bit better against Arreola, even though he did come out with the victory. But again, this is Arreola's retirement fight, so he was already 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Now, Kownacki's next opponent is Robert Helenius. Helenius is a big dude. He's 6'7". To put that into perspective, Deontay Wilder is also 6'7". Tyson Fury is 6'9", and Adam Kownacki is 6'3". So Kownacki's going to be giving up 4 inches in height, but Gerald Washington was 6'6", and 1 inch shorter than Helenius, and Kownacki was able to do what he needed to do there. He's 36 years old, and he has a couple pretty good wins himself. He's beaten Layman Brewster. He's beaten Samuel Peter. Remember Sam Peter, who gave Vladimir Klitschko all he could handle that first fight? But Helenius beat a pretty ring-worn Sam Peter, who had that first war with Vladimir Klitschko, and then got mauled by Vitaly Klitschko, had lost to Eddie Chambers, then got KO'd in the rematch against Vladimir Klitschko. So Sam Peter has seen his best days, and although he was still kind of young in age, he was a lot older in ring wear than his age would indicate because of the types of brutal fights that he'd been in. So Helenius had beat him, and he's beaten Derek Chisora. He's lost a total of 3 times, and the 2 most recent losses were versus Dillian Whyte in 2017, and then most recently, Gerald Washington in 2019. So if we're just looking at the common opponent in Gerald Washington, Kownacki decimated him within 2 rounds, and Gerald Washington KO'd Helenius in the 8th round of a 10-round fight. So Kownacki should win this fight. He should be able to corner and batter Helenius like he does most of his opponents. But this is the heavyweight division, and Kownacki just gets hit a little too much for my liking. He's not necessarily take one to give one. He's not sloppy. He's not a brawler. He'll kind of sly fox his way in there and find opportunities to let his hands go, usually baiting the opponent to throw the punch so then he could counter with combos. And again, he's accurate. But once in there, he likes to hang around in there and throw combos, kind of like Ruiz. But I think Ruiz is a better defensive fighter than Kownacki. And again, that brawl with Arreola kind of has me rethinking how he'd fare against the heavyweights top 5 to 7. At this point, I don't see him beating the top 3. I don't see him beating Joshua, Fury, and Wilder yet. And I don't know if I'd favor him over Andy Ruiz, Dillian Whyte, Luis Ortiz, or Joseph Parker. But I've got Kownacki winning this one by mid-round TKO. I just don't know how many battles he can fight before he gets hit with something that really gives him the silly leg and has him on the canvas. Again, I'm not doubting his ability to wreak havoc on the opponent. The heavyweight division is just a dangerous place to get into long exchanges. Another thing to think about, this fight is taking place in his Brooklyn hometown. That could cut both ways. We've seen good and bad hometown performances. It's a different and often more stressful fight week for the hometown guy. If that doesn't impact Kownacki here, he should win this one. And I've got him by mid-round, maybe late TKO. Helenius is pretty experienced himself. He went the distance with Dillian Whyte, and I can see him making it into the later rounds versus Kownacki. But let me know your thoughts. And please, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're into all the boxing talk. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.